Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back here for reactions to sneak peek of the summit as we head to the peak of, is that Paramount Mountain? Not sure, but we've got a brand new show here on CBS, and we got to see a sneak peek, and we've got a great team with me tonight to react to what we saw. First, a man who I think would actually be a very good person to have in your climbing party. It's Taran Armstrong. Taran, how are you?
Happy to be here, Rob.
Oh, yeah, let's go. Are we doing Manu voice?
Once again, it's great to see you, but we'll see how the podcast goes.
Never before has podcasting reached the peaks of this podcast.
That is good. All right. And the guy who I think would bring a lot of vibes to the climbing party, it's Chappell.
Yep, that's about it. You know, if I don't fall off the mountain, it's going to be a good time until I do, Rob.
Yes. All right. Well, we're going to have a good time talking about what we saw with the summit here on CBS. They just premiered. Actually, this is a sneak peek of what they're doing. From what I understand, this is a sneak peek that we just saw. And then after Survivor on Wednesday, I believe they are going to re-air the same episode in its normal time slot. So this was sneak peek, followed by then we're going to get in its regular, I believe not even this week. I believe starting October 9th, I believe is going to be the actual premiere of the show.
So a sneak peek and then a regular peek.
Followed by the regular peek in its regular time slots. Okay.
As we try to make it to the peak of the summit. There you go. It's right there. That's
but we jumped in here on the sneak peek and we're going to talk about it. We'll do some non-spoilers, tell you about the show. I think that, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I was pleasantly surprised with what I saw here from the summit.
Yeah, me too. I mean, when the previews aired and it was like, ooh, it's like a show about climbing a mountain. Taran, it's about climbing. Mm-hmm. My initial reaction was like, really going to be a lot of climbing in this show. And is there a lot of climbing in this show? Not particularly so far, but they are hiking up a mountain and there's some voting going on. There's some social strategy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in. This is kind of fun.
Okay, all right. And so the summit, it pits 14, I'm sorry, how many people are there? 16 people, 16 people, 14 days, one or maybe $1 million. There might be many winners of the summit.
$1 million.
Whoever gets to the end with money, they all have money in their backpack. They will split whatever money that all the people that get there each have a little, a fraction of the $1 million in their backpack. But if they quit, their money is gone. And so they have to get there in 14 days with whatever people and their respective monies to then split the prize pot.
I love it so much. I love the idea that they have to carry the money around because it makes it really tangible when you say you're voting someone out or somebody, you got to leave somebody behind because you're watching the money get taken away. You know, it's not like this, oh, one day we'll see the $1 million. I can only dream about it. It's like, no, you're actually carrying it. And it incentivizes you probably to think more about the money as an object that you could possibly lose as opposed to like this just imaginary amount that you're trying to get to in the future. So I really appreciated that part. Remember when Survivor used to pull out like the trunk full of like gold or something
season
like
that?
Like
season one, they had the trunk of cash at Tribal Council.
That's what I miss those days. So yeah, lug it all the way up the mountain.
Yeah, and so we have our 16 people, and we'll get to know them from all walks of life. Not necessarily casting for people who do this kind of things on the regular.
Really not. I mean, I don't think there's like a single person on this cast that's like, this person is like a true...
Yeah, I mean, Taran, forget it. Like, Big Brother wouldn't have this cast. If Big Brother had this cast, you're like, oh my God, this is like the oldest, most out of shape Big Brother cast they've ever had in history.
Truly. Yeah, I mean, we'd be like, oh boy, we're in for same people winning the challenges in this season.
I mean... Put the Big Brother cast on the summit. You feel like, okay, they got a chance. They got a lot of like all these young people there. Okay, maybe Angela, maybe it's going to be rough, but everybody else, you feel like, okay, they got a good chance to get there.
I would love to see Quinn on the summit. since you're talking such a big game for this man. You know, like I would love to see Quinn, Chemo, Angela, and like and little Cedric as like our 4 team for the summit.
Little Cedric would be doing great on the summit. No problem.
Amazing on the summit.
He'd be doing great. And so, I mean, that's the show. It is hardcore. That there are like real like death-defying type stunts that they are doing. They have to just hike and hike and hike like up this rock face. They're going through all sorts of different terrain, and then hopefully they get to different checkpoints. And if they don't, they have to just sleep on the ground.
Yeah, it's like this interesting sort of traveling social strategy game where they have to make it to the checkpoint. If they make it to the checkpoint, they can vote somebody out, and voting somebody out is good because if you vote them out, you keep their money. But if you lose them along the way, you lose their money and the prize pool goes down. So you want to make it to the checkpoint so that you can vote people out and keep their money. And just along the way, you're just shedding people. And it's either people that are holding you back from getting to checkpoints, or it's people that are against you in the social strategy game. So it's an interesting little game they got going on here.
Yeah, the checkpoints are so important too, because you talk about sleeping on the ground. I think like in a vacuum, we watch shows like Survivor and stuff like that. And you say, oh, yeah, people sleep on the ground all the time, but this is a mountainside. You know, like nobody wants to sleep on this ground. I'd imagine it's very difficult to do that in general. Rob, you and I just finished watching Outlast, and those people are in the Alaskan wilderness on the ground, but it's like a forest. You know, this is.
I would rather do this than Outlast, by the way.
I haven't decided yet.
This is 14 days. This is only 14 days.
That's true. This is 14 days, and they don't seem to be freezing. They're cold, but they're not freezing. So yeah, very different. But sleeping on the ground. This is
sponsored by North Face.
Yeah, by
they can't show them get that cold.
Sponsorships. Yeah. So I would love to see, you know, kind of how this all pans out with some of the elements as well.
Yeah, Taran, so I know you went into Manu Bennett voice, but can we talk a little bit about the host of the show, Manu Bennett?
Yes, Rob. I'm ready.
Yes. Where do you know him from?
I know him from Spartacus when he was Crixus.
Yeah.
I loved that show.
Chappell, have you ever seen this man before?
Apparently he was in Arrow. And so I guess I have. He played Deathstroke in Arrow, and so I know him well from that. But I think that's the only thing. So I like when he came in, I was like, wait, Slade is here. But he kind of went into that character and never left. You know, I was like, oh, this might just be Manu. It's like Joe Magniello, but like rough.
Yeah.
You know,
Are we in a new era, Chappell, of like reality TV game show hosts that could just like kick anybody on the show's ass?
Yeah, very brawny. You know, like you know, you put them on a roll of paper towels. That's how they all look, and they come out and they all are very intense. I think Joe was very laid back in comparison to Manu. Manu is acting like these people. This is a life and death situation for these people. They better make it to the mountain, or he might kill them.
Yeah, Taran, he seems like very disappointed in the like his energy is permanently like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed in you. I thought you'd be doing better.
It really does make me want to like look up an interview with this man.
Find out what his personality is. God, is he really? Is he from Spartacus in real life? Like, is that him?
He might be. I'm not sure. That's the beauty of it. And genuinely, like I don't know what will happen if somebody challenges his authority. Like him or the Mountain Keeper. I don't know. I don't know who's more deadly.
Yeah, well, there was a moment at the end of the episode where he comes to the camp, and was it Dennis who was sitting in his? He's like, "You're in my seat." It's like, get up.
Like, shit.
Get out of here. Yeah.
I'm like running for the hills. Like, whatever you say, Manu, please don't hit me.
I'm thinking about that for the next 5 days on this trip. I'm not even in the social game. I'm just like, damn it, I was in his seat. I'm hoping somebody else screws up. That's the real social game. Try to keep Manu Bennett from throwing you off the side of the mountain.
All right. So that's the summit. Okay. That's the setup for what we saw. Really very, very exciting. And there's a game here, and we're going to talk about what we saw here on this episode tonight. And so ultimately, it's an episode that ends in a blindside. We had a medical evacuation also. So we lost 2 people from the summit. I guess let's start with the person who I guess we expected we would lose people in this way. We ended up losing Tony as the group sort of like self-sorted very quickly into the slow people and the fast people. Chappell, where would you be?
So, I'm sorry, what? Did you ask me where I would be with the slow people, just like praying to God I don't fall off the mountain. There's no way that I can watch this show without sympathizing for those people because I'm not built for this. As you said, these aren't like, the American gladiators. These are normal people. These are people who they got up off the couch and they're doing something that I could never do. So I'm with the slow people praying with the mom squad to make it to the top.
Yeah. Well, I know where Taran would be because his number one pet peeve is always people who are slow walkers.
Yeah,
Walk slow in front of him.
They finally found a way to get me to like not participate optimally in a social strategy game where like the socially strategic thing to do would be to hang back and like walk with people and be
No.
supportive. And I just physically can't do that. Like I can't go. I hate it when I have to walk in a slow group. It really bothers me. I would absolutely be the person that was off in the front.
Well, and it seems like that they really intended for this to be a big part of the show because you have people who are very much like ready to go, physically fit. Okay, they do this kind of thing, not exactly this, but are adventure seekers with a bunch of people who have never done anything like this and are very much out of their comfort zone. Chappell, you mentioned the mom squad. The mom squad is going to loom large in this episode.
Yeah, because they got each other's backs. I think that people are looking at them as maybe like, their moms, so they're more nurturing and they're going to be looking out for each other. And we see that they are. Now, I need the moms to be like, strategically savvy enough to say, okay, we might be some of the weaker links when it comes to the pacing of this whole game, but maybe we can use our social strategy to keep from getting picked off by the faster people because it's going to be hard to convince somebody to vote out one of the faster people when the checkpoints are so important. So I'm rooting for the moms and I'm rooting for the slow people as much as I can, but eventually they're going to have to step it up and start making a name for themselves in this game or they're going to get picked off.
Taran, here on the summit, the married moms get along for the most part.
You would think.
For a little bit.
I mean, that's ultimately that's what you have to do, I think, right? Like if you are one of the slower people, you have to just team up with all the other slower people and vote out all the fast people because what else can you do? Like, if you don't make it, you don't make it. If you get voted off, you also don't make it. So like, you might as well just vote off all the fast people and then hope that the show doesn't let you fail because if you start letting them vote off the slow people, it will continue to happen because it's not like you vote off one slow person and you suddenly get faster. You're still as slow as the slowest person. So you have to vote out every single one in order to actually increase your speed.
Yeah, let's talk about the game a little bit more because they spring it on the contestants when they get to the checkpoint that there's going to be an elimination. And the elimination here, the difference about the elimination versus somebody who quits in the climb, that then you get to still keep their money. I don't believe they even had an option to not vote somebody out. Somebody has to go and they will take their money and they have to decide who. And it really ends up, we have that for most of the episode, Bo is the person that is talked about as the person who's slowing the group down. But there doesn't seem to be a big groundswell to take out Bo. And if anything, this is the old survivor bugaboo of we have Rose, who threw out a name, and that really seemed to get the ball rolling against Rose.
A lot of times you don't want to be the first one to throw out a name because that's exactly what it does. It gets people looking at you and saying like, well, why not you? And Rose really caping for Bo and really caping for the slower people makes her a problem. Like she's probably not one of the slower people, but if you're going to have somebody who's going to be putting their foot down and saying like, no, we're keeping Bo no matter what. He might be slowing us down, but I don't care. I want him here. Then yeah, the faster people are going to say, well, if you're not willing to vote out the slow people, you're obviously going to vote out one of us. And so it needs to probably be you.
Yeah, I think Bo seems like the easy get. You can vote out Bo at any time. You might lose him at any time. Whereas Rose seems like somebody who's going to be causing some trouble and building her own forces
Yeah.
and trying to make actual moves, bigger threat.
Now, Taran, she threw out, I believe it was Jenny's name. She didn't like Jenny, who was had cat ears and was trying to make everybody go fast.
Yeah,
she
I'm the
didn't like
Jenny.
that. Yes. I didn't really see a lot about Jenny. And then it seemed like that then there was a whole groundswell against Rose.
Yeah, pretty much. I think again, it was just sort of like, I mean, one is that Jenny is fast, and I think that people like that in Jenny. The people that are also fast.
They're trying to get to the top of the mountain.
Right. And then with Rose trying to orchestrate something, trying to like the moms, I think in general were very blatant about being together. And so I think that a lot of people in this cast, a large amount of which, by the way, I think we haven't touched on yet, very strategic. Like a
Mhm.
lot of these people are like, they came to play Survivor and they're playing the summit, and so they're trying to be survivory as much as like I'm gonna make alliances, I'm gonna blindside people, like just you wait, I'm gonna be the most evil person on this show.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're not gonna let Rose get in on this.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some overlap in the casting in terms of like how many people could they get to want to be on the summit. Like I think that probably like there's some overlap in the CBS casting department of like taking people that are in the Survivor mix. Like, hey, we got another show.
Yeah, I'm sure that happened for sure.
Mhm.
Like Tara said, they're definitely more strategic than you would think on a show about climbing a mountain. You think that people would come on and their first primary objective would be get up the mountain, and then they would start to like develop a strategy as it goes. But these people came in immediately and were like, "All right, we ain't making it up this strategy up this mountain without the strategy, without the alliances." And I think for Rose, she was also getting under people's skin because if she's willing to stick out and stick up for Bo at the detriment of other people's games, you at least got to be very likable because that's the thing. Bo, people loved Bo. That's why they were willing to go to bat for Bo. Shweta was not a big fan of the Rose. She like, look, she can go right now, and that's okay with me because I don't like her. And so socially, strategically, it's good to have a lot of these alliances, but also got to be pleasant. People are climbing a mountain and sleeping next to you in the dirt. They're gonna want to like dealing with you every day.
The vote that they did, it was a show of hands. And I feel like that there is like a lot of like social pressure of like, once you see a bunch of hands up, like, all right, yeah, I'm in on, Rose, that's fine.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is has huge ramifications on the strategy of the game, is that like, depending on who is voted for first versus second, and like how many hands can you get up, to make your point early on. If somebody is sitting there and it seems like there's a lot of hands up and it might be the majority or a plurality, you don't really have time to start counting to be like, well, do I have enough to say no, or am I going to stand out? I mean, it's not, I don't want to leave it open to be me or like so there's all kinds of implications to it.
And then after the vote, you now have publicly aligned with somebody by voting out somebody else. And so now it's not like you can hide. You can't do the, oh, well, I voted this way and I didn't really do it. Like you have to stand on your vote, and that could be detrimental to you moving forward as well.
You do a lot of damage control up the mountain tomorrow.
And it's probably difficult to strategize and make alliances and climb the mountain as you're trying to keep a target off of your back. So I think there's so many layers to this game that it could be a very fun watch throughout the entire season.
Chappell, how many people do you think that they will ideally like get? I know people will like quit and stuff like that, but how many people do you think potentially get to, assuming they get to the end? What do you think we're looking at like when we get to the last episode?
Honestly, I don't know. I think we had the same issue with Dondi. Is that like we don't know what the prize pot is going to be at the end, so it's like when you get to the end, you can go and try to win and they're going to give you whatever is available. But when we have people getting voted out and when we have people who could potentially quit or just physically not make it up the mountain, there's so many opportunities for you to miss out on money or for you to lessen the amount of people in your group that you have to split the money with. So I can see this coming down to 5 people. I can see this coming down to 10 people, honestly. But I think they're going to try to do their best to whittle it down. We're going to have a lot of eliminations in this show because they're going to want to make them make the hard decisions.
Okay. Well, the other way that we lose people is if somebody has to tap out. And this wasn't necessarily a situation where Tony ended up wanting to leave, but Tony talked about that he was somebody who, I think he said he weighed over 400 pounds, and then he ended up being on a massive workout regime and lost all this weight. And I think he did a marathon and he was feeling like he was up for this, but he was in the group that was going slower. And then just, I believe it was the first day, and he just ends up like falling, and they have to bring in the medical helicopters to come and get him.
Yeah, sometimes it just hits you, and I think that like there's a lot of pressure to not slow people down and to not show weakness, and so it seems like he probably didn't like, get enough rest and water in him, and he might have been fine otherwise, but like, there's all that pressure is enough to make people ignore all kinds of signs, and you can see him starting to falter, and then eventually go down, and then it's very obvious because it's Tony! Tony! No! Tony!
Is that Grocery Genie?
Yes, Queen. Okay, look, you got to have some personalities on this show, and Jeannie's gonna make sure you hear her every
Come on,
time.
Tony.
Come on, Tony. I said, yes, this is my favorite character easily. Tony, yeah, he had a bad start, and I think Tony going down so early really sets the tone for the rest of the cast, because now if you were thinking, I'm gonna push my body to its limits, I refuse to be one of the slow people. Now you're looking at Tony and saying, well, maybe slowing down ain't so bad. I don't want to be the next Tony. He was cramping up. They had to come get him. They're taking off his pack and taking his money. I mean, they lost the money that Tony lost. And so not only are you losing him, but you're losing the prize pie. And so you want to keep it a pace to where people aren't just dying out on you because they're taking the money with them.
Let's talk about some of the other standout characters. And there was somebody that made quite an impression in this episode, and she's come up already. Shweta.
Yeah.
And
I'm strategic.
she's going for the villain of the summit.
Mhm.
Yes. A strategist.
A strategist, yes. When Tony falls, she's like, come on, we gotta go, people. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
That was
shake
weird.
it off. They're like, yeah, why did you do that?
What was going on there? I will say, like, I felt like they kept replaying it too. And it's like,
Mhm.
was that even an actual, like, was that an edited moment? Because I don't even understand what she's trying to say in that moment.
Leave
Like,
him. Leave him.
But it,
But
I
They
don't
for
know
won't
if she
let him,
actually says that. I think,
CBS won't let him die there. We gotta go.
I think her actual words are just like, I'm confused. What's the big deal?
What's the
Yeah.
big deal?
She was confused as to like, why are we making a big deal about Tony? He's only getting medevac. He's like, wait a minute. Oh,
Mhm.
but
He's
I will give
fine.
us-
The helicopter is coming. Let's move.
But you can't just leave him on the side of the mountain, ma'am. I think that's the issue, right? Like she's probably thinking, the medical staff is there. Why do we have to sit here and wait for Tony to get like life flighted out of here when
Yeah.
we could just go? Because we're not able to help him, and they're not stopping the clock. They have to get to these checkpoints in time, and someone going down for injury really does slow you down.
In
You're losing
fairness, they
daylight.
barely know him.
They don't know this
They
man.
just met
you know
him.
What I'm saying?
They know he's
Honestly.
Tony.
And she wasn't even in the back of the pack with him.
She hadn't even bonded with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was Tony a plant?
A production plant.
Well,
Yeah, we need somebody to set the tone.
Oh.
I don't
Set
know
the
if they need
Tony.
a plan or they can
Was
just
right there.
cast people that they know are going to struggle.
Yeah. Sometimes you need a first boot.
Yeah.
I mean, do we think that that Tony slowed them down more, or the going in the wrong direction for 40 minutes slowed them down more? Because
Well,
I feel like
can't
that's
it be
the real
both?
issue.
Can't it
It
be
could
both
be both.
things?
Yeah. Look, one of those things you can say is like, okay, we just got out of this mountain. Navigation is probably going to be difficult. We're all learning. It's a learning curve. The other thing is, all right, it's been 15 minutes and they're still pouring water on Tony. Can we just, like, hey, why don't we just start going?
Mhm.
Like, if I start walking and y'all just start walking with me, are they gonna be mad? Like, at some point, I think you just have to leave Tony with the safety manager or whatever his name was who showed up. They got like, all right, y'all got it. We're gonna go. I do like that you can't leave the slow people behind. I think that they have to move in kind of conjunction with each other because there are portions of this climb there. It's a hike, but it's also kind of take like some tandem efforts. Like some people aren't going to make it to parts of this hike without getting pulled up. And even we'll see that they even have to go over some challenges where it takes teamwork to do it.
Yeah. Here she is. Here's the queen of the summit, Shweta.
Yeah. Queen.
Coterie. Okay.
Corduroy.
Corduroy. Yes. Okay. So yeah, she's also at the end of the episode. She was like, Rose. The only surprise was that it wasn't unanimous for her.
Yeah, she's here to make good TV. I'm sure, like y'all were saying, that there's probably other reality TV shows we could see these people on, but I'm happy that with the selection, I didn't hate the casting at all. I thought everybody that they showed a lot was giving us stuff. Now I think there's some people that are probably still purple after the first episode, but what we saw, I thought we got some big personalities and we're gonna have some good TV.
Okay, let's talk about some of the other standouts that are here. Let's talk about, we've got another Rob on CBS reality TV. Here's Robert.
Yeah, with the camp counselor energy.
The camp counselor energy. Chappell, he works at the school.
Yeah, I worked at the school too.
Are these his students on his shirt?
I hope not. Don't do that. You know,
I do like that other shirt he's wearing.
Yeah, it's plaid. I figured you wouldn't like it. Since when do you like that? The camp counselor energy for me, I don't love it. It's not my favorite thing. You know, I just like I'm kind of like, that's how you lose me, is when you're like, okay, guys, hey, leave me alone. I'm trying to focus. We're climbing a mountain, babes. I don't need all that extra. But I think he's gonna be good for morale if you're into that kind of thing. And I think for the moms and some of the other people, they were enjoying it, but he was being very grating towards some of the other people, especially the faster people.
Yeah. He ends up rubbing a lot of those folks the wrong way. He's trying to make sure that the people in the back, like, all right, let's get our socks dry. Come on, we can't do this. Everybody's squeeze your socks out. I think, Taran, when they get to the challenge, I think he's looking to take a bigger leadership role. And a lot of folks are like, I don't think so.
Stop it.
I'm just imagining how annoyed I would be if I was in that. I really feel like we watch these social strategy games and I'm like, yeah, I'm putting my own irks aside. Like, it would be easy. I watch this one and I'm just like, nope, I would have a hard time going slow. Nope, I am not going to have this guy tell me I need to dry out my socks. Like, it's just not going to work for me.
Taran, are you taking enough breaks? Are you making sure? Because if we lose you, then, then we have to go back. That's not going to be good.
Yeah, it's you wearing your socks today, Taran? Are you wearing the long socks? Did you put the long socks on? Like, oh, I'll show you long socks.
The way Taran feels about this is how I feel about Big Brother, which is why I always say I could never do it, because the moment somewhere I'm like, hey, I don't care. Leave me alone. I'm fine. Leave me alone. I don't want to know. No, I don't want to talk to HOH. Leave me alone. Like, those are the types of things that I just know about me won't work. And so this I'm like, yeah, bring me a Robert who's going to be like, hey, Chappell, make sure I'm like, oh shit, just socks. Who would have thought? I forgot my damn socks. Thank you. But also there's a limit. There's definitely a limit, because after a while, stop nagging me. I'm already trying to climb a mountain. Leave me alone.
Okay. She came up already, but let's just mention supermarket genie,
Trader Joe's,
grocery store genie.
Yeah. Listen, this lady is putting TJs on her back. Okay, I can't wait. I can't wait till she makes it she's gonna make it to the end. If any of the moms are gonna make it up the summit, it's Jeannie.
Yeah,
I just feel like a Trader Joe's employee would just magically know like some random things to eat.
Yeah,
on the mountain.
Yeah,
like no scientific basis behind that. It's just they've got all those weird snacks,
Yeah, she's got the good energy. She doesn't want to leave any of the moms behind. Although then she does very quickly turn on Rose. I don't know if it was because then that she didn't want to get rid of Bo. She liked Bo so much.
I mean, that's kind of how it felt. Like Rose did not seem like Rose was like very ingratiated into this squad. It very much felt like, okay, their people are caping for Bo, and Rose is the most adamant about that. And they're like, well, we'll keep Bo, but we're gonna keep you, And so I think that's really what it came down to. Like, they loved Bo, and they were struggling with getting rid of Bo. Rose, not so much.
Yeah. Actually, I think that Jeannie started off and said that she would vote out Bo instead of one of the moms, but then I think she comes around.
It's Bo.
Yeah.
I think she went with the house, essentially, right? Like,
yes.
The mountain.
She voted with the house. Yeah. So she was very fun. She was very upset when Tony ultimately ended up having to be medically evacuated. How about some other standouts? What about Dusty? Dusty and Chappell, I think you said that he was the grown-up Spencer.
Yeah, the young lad. He's a real estate agent, but he definitely feels like the person who is going to be I don't see a world where Dusty is getting cut anytime soon. Like if that happens, I think that's going to be like a very big strategic swing in the game because he's very clearly going to be one of the faster people. He seems very driven, and when they're casting this show, there's a couple of these people that you think, all right, they're probably going to be good for the game, and he looks like somebody who would be in that typical mode.
Yeah, the thing that stood out to me from Dusty is that he was the guy who, despite having he could be going faster, he was like hanging back to help people out. And I was like, that's very admirable. Not something I could do, but very admirable of Dusty.
And so Dusty, he did not necessarily love Robert's camp counselor energy.
Yeah.
Nope. And I get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we also had Bo. Bo, basketball coach Bo. Once led a team from like 51-0 to come back to victory.
I feel like we get that a lot actually on these shows from like sports people, either on a team or coaching a team, where they're like, what is my biggest accomplishment in life? Well, there was this one time we were down by like 40 points. And let me tell you, when we came back, and good for them. Like, I'm sure that was a really fun moment. It's just very funny that related to a reality TV show.
Yeah, Chappell, he seems like a fun guy, but it does not seem like that Bo is really cut out for this.
Yeah, but look at his Hawaiian shirt. Like they're
redeeming his calves.
Yeah. Oh, look, get into his calves. He's from Gun Barrel City, Texas. If that's the most Texas name, there's a few Texas named cities in the world, but like that is one of them. Gun Barrel City is wild.
Yeah. All right. So Bo is somebody who is really struggling, especially by the first day. They end up, Manu comes in like all disappointed, and he's like,
look at where you are right now. You're not even close to the checkpoint. You're going to have to camp here on the floor.
Sleep in the dirt. I said,
Sleep
oh,
in the
God.
What were those things they had to sleep in?
Biddy?
The biddy.
Biddies?
Is that what it was?
I thought that's what it was.
Set up a biddy camp?
A little bitty one.
Little bitty camp?
You're gonna have to sleep in the biddy camp.
Yeah.
They literally do biddy camp.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that word was. It sounds
Eventually
like
they'll get to sleep in the
I wrote
biggie
down
camp.
biddy, but
Bivy.
Bivy.
Bivy camp.
That's it.
Bivy sounds
Bivy.
way better. It was the Bivy camp.
okay.
Yeah.
BIVVI, bivvy camp.
Yeah.
The biddy camp.
The biddy camp. Sorry.
Get in the bivvy.
Yeah. The
I can't go back to the biddy camp, guys. Not again. Not the biddies.
So little and bitty. So little bitty camp. It says, Wikipedia says, any of a variety of improvised campsites or shelter that is usually temporary. So basically, you just have to camp.
They actually looked pretty cool. I haven't really been camping in a while, but this feels like when I had gone camping, if I had cool little zip-in things like that, I'd be
called a
pretty
BB
happy.
sack.
So I don't know if this is necessarily something that is from the North Face also, that this is something that you could get, like how much North Face is involved with the product placement on all of this. But it did seem pretty cool.
It did seem like it, but then they all complained about it, so maybe not sponsored.
Yeah, I think it was the ground that was really the issue.
Yeah,
more than the sleeping bag.
Yeah, it's North Face is selling bivy camp bags. There's a lot of bivy sacks on here. They got emergency bivy sacks on here on Amazon. You can get one for $150. You know, or you get a really cheap one for $20.
Well, I see. I feel like they missed an opportunity here. What they could have done is say, okay, at the checkpoint camp, it's North Face all the way. If you don't make the checkpoint, sorry, you're gonna have to use the competitors.
The
no,
Temu
these
brand.
ones suck. We need
The
North
Biddy.
Face.
Yeah.
You got Temu bivy camp bags and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
From Shein.
Okay. So they ultimately, the big challenge that we have in this episode is that there is this bridge crossing. And I feel like that this was sort of like at least like reminiscent of things that we saw on Squid Game, Chappell, of basically, all right, we have to cross the bridge and find a partner.
Yes.
And somebody's
so-
not going to have a partner.
Yeah, and this is where I had to remind myself that this is like a televised produced TV show / game, right? Because they're doing all this camping, and normally when we watch these shows, we know when production is stepping in, right? Like, okay, we're about to start a challenge, everybody. Now that production's come in and set up, and we have a whole set of different rules. They walked over to this bridge, they read the instructions, they're like, oh, we got to cross this bridge, and it's not a bridge, it's just these 2 ropes, basically, and you got to use each other's strength to get across it. I'm like, y'all just gonna leave this in their hands? You know, like somebody needs to step in and make sure I don't fall to my death. But they do get harnessed in, and it just comes down to who's the bravest, like who can conquer their fear of heights, because they're not gonna let them fall to their deaths, right? And so I was wondering the whole time, like, okay, do you just get on the ropes and try it one time, fall, and just like, okay, the fall wasn't so bad. I've gotten it out of my system. Now let's try to cross it, you know, having the confidence of somebody who knows I'm not gonna die when I fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also they're being watched, right?
Yeah.
The Mountains Keeper.
The Mountains Keeper. Yeah, Taran, do you understand what the Mountains
banker.
Keeper is?
No. I don't
Howie
understand
Mandel.
the
Like, I
purpose
thought the
at
Mountains
all.
Keeper was going to be like, okay, well, you're going to have to like go to like tribal council as the Mountains Keeper, but the Mountains Keeper seems to be just like a helicopter that flies around and then drops like
Yeah.
bags.
Like an anthropomorphized helicopter is the Mountains
The
Keeper.
Mountains Keeper.
I don't know if maybe there's some kind of twist at the end of the show where it's like, guess who the Mountain Keeper was all along?
Howie Mandel.
Howie
It was
Mandel.
me.
Yeah.
I
That
was
did the
Manu.
Mountain Keeper.
Manu.
Taran, that was
Yeah.
literally Deal or No Deal Island of like all season. It was like, who's the banker? Who's the
Or like Howie
banker?
Mandel.
The banker doesn't
Mandel.
like the cut of your
Howie
jib. You
Mandel.
better impress him. And
Howie
then we
Mandel.
met the banker. We were all
It was
season
Howie
like, it's
Mandel.
Howie Mandel.
Still
It's
Howie
Howie
Mandel.
Mandel. And then he showed
Like
up.
every
and it was Howie
episode,
Mandel.
Howie Mandel. It's got to be Howie Mandel. And then we saw him. It was like, oh, show it to Howie Mandel. So I'm very excited to see Howie Mandel making his second appearance on reality TV this year.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, we have to go across the bridge, and we have to figure out who's going to be the person that goes across the bridge. I thought it was funny that was it Taran that was the
Taran.
person that Taran that he said he's afraid of heights. Just let him go first, which I feel like
Me.
it was
Me.
sort of like that's you.
Me, 100%. If I'm terrified of something, I don't want to see other people do it because that's going to make me now more afraid to do it. I need to go first, get it out the way so I can't see the horrors that can happen to me if y'all go. Like, because I don't want to be the one to pass out. If I see somebody else pass out, I'm thinking, oh God, I'm going to pass out next. If I see somebody else fall, I'm going to be like, what if I fall? Nope. Let me go first with blinders on, thinking only good thoughts, and then y'all can figure out the rest later on. I was totally in on what Darren was talking about.
Yeah. What a happy guy.
Yeah. I don't know how much fun he would be to hike with though. Like he's happy, like he's like this energy he's giving right here. Darren's locked in. He was one of the faster people, and definitely putting a target on his back potentially because he was like, "Hey, we moving too slow. We got to go."
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an interesting combination of like fast, strategic, and terrified of the challenges. And so
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's a fun combo.
Yeah. So they ultimately end up letting Becky Lee become the person who is the leader. And then the leader gets to pick which 2 people go over the rope bridge. And this was like, I know they were strapped in with like bungee cords, but this was like, Taran, I was not into this. I would not want to do this.
You wouldn't want to, go try to sidestep across a rope bridge hand in hand with somebody?
I wouldn't want to do that on flat ground.
We've seen you do balance beam before, Rob. So we know it's not great, not amazing. It's fine.
Yeah.
But you made
fine.
it. You lived.
You
Yeah.
made it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, they have to go, and Becky goes over with Rose. Then they're actually the first to go. And this is when we should have started to know that things were not going to go great for Rose, because Rose is like, okay, Rose is like making her picks of what she wants to have happen. And I think the first thing she's like, okay, get Bo. Bo should come over. And Bo does not come over. They don't even
Never
like,
comes
they pick
over.
every other person besides the person that Rose initially wanted to pick.
Yeah, this was actually my first issue with the show, which was that they're left with this dilemma that like the whole time it's like, well, who are we leaving behind? Who is the odd one out? It's Bo. Are we going to have to leave him behind? They're left with a choice. You can either leave Bo behind or have Bo come over.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, that seems fairly obvious. We'd probably just bring Bo over. It's not going to take that much longer to bring him over. We just spent a billion years bringing everyone else over. What else? What other incentives are there to leave Bo behind? Well, just you wait. If you leave Bo behind, you lose all of his money also.
You're like, well, we got to get him. we got to get him.
Obviously, we're not going to leave him behind. Let's just vote him out once we get to a checkpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Taran, what was your fix there?
I think that if you want to like incentivize people to make these kinds of like hard decisions of like, are we going to leave Bo stranded on the other side of this mountaintop? Then you have to say, okay, you can leave Bo behind, but you have to send somebody over to get his money.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like
he's gonna leave the money right here.
He's like, well, I'm not giving it to you.
Right. Well, I mean, you left me behind. You gotta come get it, you know. Like, but just to be like, yeah, the money's gone. I think they should have to make harder decisions. I'm with Taran on this one because I don't think by this point they knew they were gonna have to vote somebody out.
But also, like, if they don't get to where they need to go in 14 days, nobody gets any money. So it doesn't matter how much of Bo's money you have. If you have Bo, you're probably not gonna make it. Like, you need to lose Bo at some point.
I think that's fair, but like, if I'm playing this game, if I'm on this show, I'm not concerned that I'm going to lose the show in the first couple of days. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to let that happen. Like, I think this one decision, like, if it's you get to keep Bo's money, then honestly, it's a very easy decision. But there are social ramifications for it, and I think that's the fun of the dilemma. But when strategically, it's like, well, I lose all of that money. And maybe there's a chance to get him out later anyway, and it's not that much extra time, and people will think I'm like an evil person. Like, there are so many things stacking on top to make it seem like we shouldn't leave Bo behind. And then to make it a little bit worse, they go and get Bo and make it to the checkpoint anyway. Like,
they seem to be make it to the checkpoint where it's like, oh my god, they must be doing so horrible on time because Manu stopped them after day 1 and was like, you're doing horrible. Then they're like, oh, we got to make up so much time. And then they had the whole setback and they had to go get Bo. And they're like, you've made it to the checkpoint. Like, well, how'd they do that?
Was it the first checkpoint that they didn't make it to the first time? Because I thought Manu said they were doing terrible because they didn't make it to the first checkpoint.
Oh, so I don't know. So are they a day behind?
That's how I felt. I felt like when they made it, he's like, you made it to the checkpoint. But you also should have been here earlier when I made you sleep in the
So it took them 2 days to get to where they should have been by the first day.
That's how I read it.
That seems possible for sure, but it was not made clear to us as far as I'm concerned.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else about episode 1 of the summit?
I really enjoyed Rose after being voted out, being like, I was in the military. Yeah, that was me.
You blew it.
Yeah. Well, apparently she felt like that was a thing she needed to keep secret so that she wasn't looked at as a threat or something like that. Because she's like, maybe I should have came out and talked about my 3 combat tours and stuff like that. I just don't understand why you wouldn't say that. You know, I would want somebody like Rose
Gotta keep your threat level low.
Yeah, but if you tell me that you've been in like 3 combat tours,
they didn't even know there was voting.
Look, again, if you just
I think they all knew there was voting.
Down,
the way they all talked about alliances long before the voting started, I think they knew the voting.
Even if they weren't going to make one vote, I still would like to be stuck out in the wilderness with people who I think have had some type of training for something like this. And I'm like, Rose, if you say I've had 3 tours, I'm like, hey, let's listen to the lady. She seems like she knows what she's talking about. F what I got to say. You know what I'm saying? But she comes out the door like, okay, my big secret is I actually would have been really helpful to the team. It's like, well, maybe you should have said that before we voted you out.
Yeah. Okay. We got super tease, Chappell, at the end of this episode. It seems like things are getting pretty crazy on the summit.
I'm terrified. I keep trying to put myself in this position, and I would just be like, man, the hiking part, I could do it. I could do the hike. I wouldn't be happy. I would complain to myself, but I could do it. But then when we start getting to these challenges where you have to lean on other people, literally and figuratively, on their like strengths to make it across these chasms and stuff like that, I'm like, I don't want to do none of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not fun for me. But apparently we have how higher altitudes than we've ever seen before, an alpine lake cross, a glacier traverse, like all these steps coming up soon. And I'm not picking me first in any of those challenges. I'm thinking, how does Chappell make it to the top? I'm holding on for dear life. And so I'm ready to see how everybody else does moving forward.
And Taran, it also seems like it gets pretty cutthroat.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a cool premise, and I think there's a lot of fun things you can do with the money being in your backpack, with the physical nature of you're all traveling together, so leaving people behind is a thing. Like, there are some, I think, very fun things you can do with this, and I think that based on the preview, they're definitely interested in doing at least some of them. So I'm excited.
Okay.
And these people are going to be relatively hungry and cold. So their attitude's about to kick in too. Within the first 2 days, we saw a lot of people starting to grade on people. I remember seeing when Taran was like, who should be the leader? Becky's like, I should be the leader. And he was like, I disagree. And they were like, why? And he's like, I just do. Like, I just don't want you in charge. I'm sorry, I don't. And then he was the person who was most afraid of the challenge that he didn't want her to be the leader of. So
this
it's like things like
group
that
does not love each other. This is not a very kumbaya.
I love it. I love that they don't like each other, because you have to put all that to the side to accomplish this task, or you have to get rid of the people you don't like.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the summit. That's episode number 1. We're hoping you all might be interested in hearing more about the summit.
I should hope so.
Yes.
I was like, I'm into it. I would love to see more of
right
this.
now, our plan is Taran and Chappell are going to keep going.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Oh, you want to be the Spartacus to my Crixus?
I don't know what that means, but sure. I know we have a rope bridged across. It's 2 ropes. Taran's on one side, I'm on the other side, and he's carrying me. He's got the team on his back, but we're gonna make it. I've gone climbing with Taran before, so I feel like I'm uniquely equipped for this, because I think I'm the only one who's done this.
Yeah.
So I'm ready.
And other than the live feed update, you guys have never done a regular podcast together, right?
No. I try to
I think this is going to be a fun ride.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I can listen. I know Chappell hasn't seen Spartacus, but I can already picture the 2 of our faces on their bodies as the thumbnail. It's going to be great.
Now I'm Googling the picture, like, where is he? What body is he putting me on?
Okay. So if you want to keep going with the summit, see where we go for episode number 2. Maybe there's interviews along the way. We'll see.
Ooh,
go to subscribe. This is going to be in our We Know Reality TV feed. Go to weknowrealitytv.com. Make sure you're subscribed and listen to episode 2's coverage of the summit. I don't know if we need to do another podcast after they air episode 1 again.
I think we're good.
I think
we're probably good.
Listen. This was the sneak peek podcast. The next podcast will be the regular peak podcast, where we re-air this podcast.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll air it.
Again.
We'll air it again, like just in case you watch the summit premiere. Like we'll do a new, put it in slap. If you're listening to let us know if you're listening to this the second time we post it.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Put it in the comments.
Put it in the comments. Like here a second time, okay? And then we're off to the races. The show's going to air after Survivor, so. Wednesday nights, right after the Survivor episode, once Big Brother is over. So that's the plan for Wednesday night. No Amazing Race this fall. This is getting the Amazing Race time slot for, I believe, 90-minute episodes the whole way through of the summit. Okay?
And don't worry, Chappell. We're going to go on this journey together, and I'm not going to leave you behind.
I do not believe you. I do not believe him at all. I'm going to try my best to be one of the fast people. I'm storming the boarding gate with Taran on this one. We're going to be right in. He's not leaving me behind. I refuse.
Yeah. All right. So that's what's going on. WeKnowRealityTV.com to make sure you're subscribed for more from the summit. Chappell, where can people keep up with you?
At recapkickback.com. That's where my podcast is, and that's where I'm talking about whatever I want to talk about. And this week, or I guess depending on whenever this drops, this week we got more Recap Kickback coverage coming for you. So check it out. And then check me out on the Nothing But Netflix podcast with Rob, and check me out talking about Survivor every week on Club Condo. So yeah, a lot of good stuff coming from me, and hopefully you're keeping up with that on Twitter and on all social media platforms at Recap Kickback.
Okay. And Taran, where can people keep up with you?
Find me on Twitch. I'm doing all sorts of things over there.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us for this sneak peek at the summit. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.